Have you ever noticed that we can get so used to carrying a heavy weight that we actually forget what it feels like to stand up straight? We adjust to the pressures of life. We shrink ourselves down, folding our thoughts and our presence away, completely unaware of how long we've been bent over. The truth is, we can get so comfortable processing our past that we turn restoration into a permanent project. We spend so much time trying to figure out why we feel so uncomfortable, when the truth is simply this: we've outgrown the space. But there comes a point where the constant self-analysis has to end. We are stepping out of a cycle. We are completely done dissecting why we got bent over in the first place. You don't need a strategy or a 10-step plan or anyone's permission to stand up straight and occupy your present season. You just have to stop letting old mindsets judge a version of you that is already free, and be reminded that you are allowed to occupy the space you are in right now without making yourself small. And most of all, you just need to realize that the situation, the seasons, and the hands that held you down have no legal right to you anymore. Welcome to Embrace and Become, Interior Conversations for Women Becoming. I'm Clara, and in this conversation, we begin from the inside. Once again, as always, I'm so glad you're here for this conversation. If this is your first time connecting with Embrace and Become, you're so welcome. And if you've connected previously, or you're already part of the family, welcome back. Can I just say another massive thank you for all the incredible messages and the support, knowing that this space is serving as a safe check-in and, a space for realignment for your personal time really means a lot to me. And most of all, thank you for consistently showing up for yourselves and allowing these conversations to accompany you on your journey. Now, before we start fully into today's conversation, I want you to take advantage of this space and take a brief moment to subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Spotify, or of course your preferred listening platforms. This is just simply so you can stay notified and updated about new releases. And also it does help our community of women and ladies grow beyond our immediate circles to reach, even more women who needs this exact reminder today. So don't forget to also follow us on Instagram for more reflective and formation art content to continue equipping you on your journey and stay connected. So in our last conversation, we talked about stepping past that internal critic. We dismissed the internal jury, and we really were just learning how to quiet that private and that harsh voice that tries to measure your progress when the outside world finally goes quiet, with everything that's been chaotic around you, even the voices around you, it's just been very chaotic. And today we're moving completely away from that pressure, and this conversation is deeply, or much deeper, shall I say, because we are trying today to address the internal weight of a compressed life, Now, we're talking about the moments where you realize that you've been living with your shoulders hunched. Just imagine, and of course, spiritually and emotionally, you felt that you've been bent over by life's circumstances, life's, conditions, life's challenges. And this is what everyone goes through on a basis, but that thing that has happened, that thing that you had to go through, that thing that has occurred, that change, that shift, that transition. At times that was not even expected. That's the type of life condition that we're talking about today. And you've simply forgotten what it feels like to stand up tall. Because sometimes life has a way of just trying to make you shrink down into the ground or feel like you're being buried, feet under. And so today, my intention is to offer a soft but a firm reminder that the permission to stand up straight in your current chapter of your life doesn't actually require anyone else's green light. It doesn't require public approval. It doesn't require you keeping yourself in a space, in a mindset, in a memory that you've been in for far too long, I tend to say, and just acting as an obstacle and a hindrance to your evolving and your becoming. So I want this conversation to help guide your heart back to a place of immediate, a present relief, a soundness and a trust We've been told in scripture that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but the spirit of power, love, and of a sound mind. And I really want us to enter into that place, to re-enter, to re-recognize that place and be repositioned in that place of soundness and trust. So today, to embrace is simply to face the reality of your current posture without judgment. Because we can oftentimes acknowledge and recognize our current posture, but it's with judgment. And so today is doing so without the judgment. It's really about us admitting to ourselves in the quiet that we've been speaking about in the last few weeks, that a long season of being mismatched or misrepresented, misguided, even misused, or even heavily burdened, has dented your posture, has dented your courage, has dented your confidence, and changed how you show up, and changed how you think you should show up, or changed how you desire to show up, or even changed how you know you ought to be showing up. Today's conversation is to allow yourself the grace to acknowledge, to really consider where you feel pushed down, to really consider, without tagging yourself with names and with shame and with regret or with confusion, just being able to come into that space and allowing grace. Once again, I say grace to speak for you. At the beginning of the series, we were speaking much about the woman at the well, and really understanding how she was able to encounter or have an encounter that she was not expecting. And it was an encounter of absolute grace from a position and a posture of one who she was not even expecting to get it from. And so we see the shift and the transition of the woman at the well. And it's very important for us to understand grace not just as, a motivational or good sounding or really well comforting word. It's really an active state, an active gift that is always available. So admitting to yourself some truths about your current can make you start off with jumpstart, take a leap from a really, really beautiful place of grace. Again, I say, which I always say really matters. It always really matters for you to understand where you're taking the step from and where you're taking the step towards. So that's us embracing today. And to become today is the actual rewriting of your inner stance. Is the rewriting of your inner stance. It is literally the exact moment, if you can imagine, you stop looking at the dirt of your past, you stop looking at the mess of your past, it's a really difficult thing. We sometimes, when they say easier said than done, absolutely, because there's so many different channels and fragments of thought and memory, of connecting factors that can really hinder you from trying to rewrite or refocus, redefine and reposition your thoughts and your way of looking at something, for you to feel whole or to feel like you're better off or to feel like you're in a better place. But to become is to evolve, and to evolve is to stand in that truth that your inner stance has to be repositioned. And this is where our formation arc comes in. This is the formation arc that acts as a guide for life. So we don't always have to overthink the process. We don't have to overthink. It's like an instant go-to. Okay, recognizing this is my posture, this is my position, this is my challenge, this is my season, this is the event, this is the circumstance. I need to so understand what's going on from the right perspective that I can redefine this position right now, this season right now, this in a way that it will not be to our detriment in the long term. And so therefore we can now step into the repositioning, and that is the formation arc. So today is really just being able to look beyond the struggles and beyond what has happened to you, beyond your experiences that has really played a massive part in your story, in your journey, and just realize that you have the right to look up. This is what it is about today. It's just realizing that you have the right to look up. In Psalms chapter 3 and verse 3, it says, "But you, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory and the lifter of my head." You are my glory and the lifter of my head. God establishes himself as your glory. He is our glory. And so that is unchangeable. That you can't change that. That is an absolute truth. And the one who is your glory, our glory, is the one that can lift up our head from every posture that may have caused our heads to be bowed down or to look down. It can be because of grief, having lost somebody. It can be because of disappointment. You've worked so hard towards something and something just changed. It could be that you would have worked and initiated the founding practice or founding product or founding business or service, and people that you've brought on board have literally tried to, take on that vision and run with it and shift you out of it, and you've had to start from scratch. It could be dynamics that you've had in relationships and, in just different areas of your life, and you've had to keep your head down because of. But God is my glory, He's your glory, He's our glory. And so He can lift up our head when something is glorious. You look up in awe, you look up in wow. It's like, whoa. And so, God doesn't just look past and beyond your struggle without not even understanding what it is. He literally changes your posture. He changes your form, the radiance that begins to exude out of you is on a next level. It's so captivating, and you have to be able to own that. He repositions you so you can stand up tall again. So to become, it's moving from that place of exhaustion, of accommodating that heavy, that burdensome condition, that burdensome thought, that burdensome past, to the quiet, still, as we spoke about last week, the quietness, the still power of occupying your God-given, your full purpose, your full God-given height. There's a height, there's a dimension, there's a level that you have a right to where you're standing. So where you stand, you are allowed to stand tall, and that's your God-given right. So I want us to really just think about some relatable examples, because I know that as women, as ladies right now listening to this conversation, you are looking for a way to see where you fit in this conversation. You might be a woman that's realizing that your confidence has been dented again by something that has happened to you. Again, unspoken. Again, it's not something that you can speak out or you can put even into words. You've something that perhaps you've even avoided to confront. And your immediate instinct has been to, just try and fix it, perhaps through an exterior effort, whether physical, whether actionable, something exterior, something on the outside, something that is, seen, but can also be a type of a mask. And that's where you have to be careful, because then you're entering into a subtle performance trap. You start performing so that you can appear or in a way that to you feels or seems more dignified. You start to think that if you can just explain your side, of the story perfectly, that's you trying to, really master how to perfectly reframe something that might not even be in its authentic form, because you are trying to, mask up a moment of realization. Or you might be saying, if I can just outwork the labels that people have placed on me, or if I can force myself to look completely unbothered, and many women do this, and I think it strips away from really discovering who you are, the beauty of what forms you, because sometimes if you don't completely appear like you're unbothered or things don't bother you, you put up this outer posture that really strips away from the beauty of your humility, the beauty of your gentleness, the beauty of your softness, the beauty of your woman superpower. And then you say to yourself that if you do that, you'll feel whole again. We just try to fix a bruised spirit by really overcompensating on the outside. That has been the go-to subconsciously, I'd say, most times, but also consciously, intentionally trying to overcompensate because it makes more sense. And, we treat the exhaustion of being misjudged or overlooked or misrepresented or whatever it might be, not as a prompt to stand tall in our true identity, but really just as a mistake we need to correct through people pleasing or even perfectionism, or maintaining the peace to some degree, or just trying to be, loyal to others or another's vision or another's perspective. And it's very dangerous because people can look at you and speak and say, this is how we perceive when you show up in the way they need you to show up. And the moment that you realize that it's not always going to be a mirror of actually the valuable you and worthy you, it's mainly from where their perspective is being initiated from. It will now make you start becoming very questionable about, what is my true form? So you start to overcompensate in thought, even in trying to figure out what exactly is the formation here. So at times it can be because of the dynamic of a relationship, the dynamic of a partnership, the dynamic of an investment, the dynamic of, the positioning of. You tend to want to perfect that circumstance or that situation or that event or relationship or whatever it might be. But it's like you're trying to earn your right to stand up straight. You're trying to earn your right to stand up with your head held high and stand up tall, and not in pride. I mean, in absolute humility, in absolute liberty and freedom, as the Spirit of God has said, that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. What exactly then do you need to prove? So in you trying to earn your right to feel or to seem like you're standing up straight, you then forget that your freedom isn't a price. It's not a prize that you win or we win through performance or through showing up how people require and expect for even their season. And that's why most time women are left hurt. People are left so hurt, so, dented, not because their worth or their value or, their truth has ever shifted. Absolutely not. But sometimes for a particular moment in season, someone could drag you down the route, down the canal, or down, a deep hole of really having to question whether or not actually are you. No, from what they need. Some people use you. Some people abuse your kindness or take advantage of, your posture, take advantage of the fact that you might even be vulnerable, take advantage of the fact that perhaps perhaps the way you show up, everybody sees that glory of God upon you and the light of God upon you, the wisdom of God upon you, the strength and the courage, the way you just show up, internally. Many people will not admit it, and again, is they're right in the season that they are, and we pray that we really will be healed from that, because it's damaging for self in itself. But it can bring very strong and courageous people and women to a place that you think you're the one losing out, when really it's not. It's just them, and it's their survival mechanism to keep you in that place. Whether it's a person, it's a system, it's places that are governing. That's just how it is, and they tend to lose grip, and that's why things can become much more intense in that battle of one saying this is you and you saying no, this is who I am. Really, just it becomes a battle. But when you can remember that you standing up tall is an inheritance that you're supposed to occupy right now. It's an inheritance you're supposed to occupy. Nothing else should matter. Nothing else should be so strong in force to contend against what God has given to you as an inheritance. This is an honest conversation. This is an honest space. This is the opportunity for you to really just stay in the realm of understanding what's really been going on with you. So yes, it's not to deny, it's not to really just stay away from that unhurried space that you have allowed yourself to be for such a long time. That's the anchor direction we're coming from. It's about really being able to have this space to reason and this space to reflect and this place to feel encouraged. So yes, you have survived the season where the core, the essence of who you are, and you've been known to be, the core of your character and the core and genuine, the genuineness of your intentions were completely twisted, abused, used, turned in dynamics and in narratives by perhaps an environment or a circle that you trusted. Yes, but even though you are physically out of that space, you're still carrying the dent to your confidence to want to trust again, to want to, hope again, to want to, just not be so weary. I know you possibly may find yourself second guessing your voice, and as a woman, you'd really be rehearsing your conversations and trying to shrink your presence, because subconsciously perhaps you're waiting for the next misrepresentation or the next misunderstanding or the next twisting of narratives, and you're treating your life like a defensive argument instead of a gift to be lived, and that's the beauty of God giving you life, and without condemnation, because you start from a canvas that it's ultimately just made for you. It's created for you in your shape, in your form, from the foundation of how God has designed you to be. And so it takes from you having to be in a state of defensiveness. It takes from where you're heading. It takes from, so much of what could be part of your journey in a more positive space. And so, you're perhaps always having to be the woman who's always been the strong one for everyone else, or, just pulling back for others to kind of show up in their own realm or space or part of their own authentic journey. Everybody has their journey, and it's really just coming to even peace with that, because sometimes it's a sense of restriction when we so use it as a justified reason to maintain posture, to be that defensive all the time. And you learn over time, and life is a learning, but the willingness to want to learn, the willingness to want to reposition yourself or to perceive things differently can also help. People love your presence when you're self-sacrificing, when you're compliant, and then the moment your capacity is reached, and you gently choose to protect your soundness, they literally treat your boundary like an offense. I know that's what you're saying to yourself, and to be honest, much truth ought to be in that. But then at the same time, by doing so and seeing it so, or settling in that space for however long, you're the one that ends up carrying the unspoken weight of their disappointment. You know, your confidence is bruised, your level of courage is waned, and because your inner voice is telling you that you're selfish just for needing room to exist, it becomes an even more deeper rooted inner battle or interior battle and conflict within yourself. So this is the place where we understand, we have to recognize what we're in, perhaps why we're in it, how we've become in it, whatever that thing is. You need to be able to identify the exact matter that has been compressed, the exact matter that has been kind of compressed within you. You need to, the matter isn't that you lack value. The matter isn't that you lack worth. The matter isn't that you lack strength. The matter isn't that you lack vision. The matter isn't that you lack integrity. The matter simply is that a heavy situation, a difficult situation, as you're hearing me saying these words, just stay in that place. Sometimes we hear things and it becomes like a blow, but remember, this is the whole purpose of you checking in to this conversation. So yes, the matter is, it's heavy. And the matter, the circumstance, the situation is trained you to keep your head down. At times your head is going downwards, you're not even realizing until you find yourself in a position like, whoa, how did I get here? So I want to use a woman who, who had a spirit, had a circumstance, had a matter at hand. And we find this woman in the Gospel of Luke in chapter 13. The Gospel of Luke in chapter 13. And the text tells us that she had a spirit of infirmity, okay? So for 18 years. And within that time, she had a posture, and that was the posture that she was known for and by. And that posture was that she was bent. She was bent over, and as scripture says, could in no wise stand up straight. So you find this in Luke 13, verses 12 to 13 and onwards. But when Jesus saw her, he called her to him and said to her, "Woman, you are loosed from your infirmity." And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight, and she glorified God. The beauty of the foundation of it, being able to embrace where you're at, being met where you are at, and then evolving and becoming, is that in essence, everything that is in you may have been veiled by thoughts and circumstances and so forth, or the way now you choose or have chosen to or have believed to perceive yourself, is the fact that in all, whatever's been poured out of you, whatever's been settled on, is the fact that your life is ultimately there to glorify God. Your life is to be a testimony of God being glorious over your life, God radiating his light and his wisdom and his sacrifice, his mercy in you, through you. And so everything that you'll be oozing out in life should be that it glorifies God and it can pour out to others. And so it's really important that we have time to check in, have time to reflect. Now, just looking at this woman with this infirmity, it again can so act as a mirror. In the first instance, when we're talking about the woman at the well, again, the woman at the well had a routine. Whatever it was that was her storyline, whatever it was that was her journey, she now had a routine showing up where she would, as part of a routine. And so as this woman also had, for nearly 2 decades, this was her everyday normal, to literally walk into the temple completely accustomed to limitation. Her routine was looking at the ground. She was used to people looking down on her. She had pretty much standardized her life based on what her heavy condition allowed her to do. And her internal loop was pretty much just entirely focused on her restriction. And this is just her pretty much saying, this is who I am now, and her having to settle with that. Her saying to herself, this is my lot in life. And then again, just like the woman at the well, she had an encounter. And again, Jesus saw her. He didn't wait for her to ask. He didn't demand an audit of her worthiness. He called for her, and then she came forward into the open spaces, and he said to her, woman, you are loosed from your infirmity. He didn't ask how she even got bent over. And this is why I love the beauty of God's character and just love, because in comparison to human nature and to human ways of being, it's so easy for, you to be in this place or space of just always wanting more info, over analyzing, overthinking the matter, over criticizing, over judging, over having the justified reason why you can keep someone where they ought to be coming out of. And this is why I say, for women to be in a position of being reflective enough and bringing themselves to that space where even the unspoken has to be so channeled through to understand what's going on in the inner posture, the inner positioning of yourself, so that you know how you're showing up, but also pouring out into others. Because can you ask yourself this? Can you see someone going through something, a challenge, a circumstance, a season, a scenario that, of course, to you or to everyone else, or, it's just an unworthy appearance, it's an unworthy situation, it's an unworthy, or whatever word you want to place there, one that could be frowned upon, one that can be ridiculed. Can you? And then could you actually act the way Jesus acts? It's why there's a system and a world of so much defensiveness, so much, resistance, and so much straying away from even the core of imitating and exemplifying the character of God, because these are the natural dynamics. So yes, just like this woman, he didn't ask how she got bent. He literally addressed her immediate release. And it clearly seems that to God, hence salvation, hence mercy, hence forgiveness, hence compassion. For God will show compassion to whom he chooses to show compassion, and mercy to whom he wants to show mercy. That is Jesus. And most times he wants us, even as women, to understand that he cares more about the release, more about the new person, more about the non-condemned version than he does everything else that might have even positioned you to be where you are today, that makes you put your head down. And this is ultimately where the shift occurs. And this is where the shift happens, and the shift is an encounter, the shift is a revelation, the shift is a transformation, the shift is a change, the shift is, a picking up or letting go. So he laid his hands on her, and he immediately touched her and said, "You're loosed," and she was made straight. It was that expressive, it was that instant. Yes, it was reality. Because I know most times we'll hear stories and testimonies, and you'll say, "Oh, well, my case is different," or "Well, is that really reality?" Well, when it comes to Jesus, yes, it is. His timing and our timings are not the same. His ways and our ways are not the same. And the shift was so instant that she didn't even need a recovery plan to learn how to stand tall. So we speak about restoration, and we speak about healing, and we speak about so many different things, but we have to also ultimately be ready to evolve within that, so we don't stay stuck in that space unknowingly, and we begin to stand tall as women, that others may see the light. Like, you're a light of this world. We are a light of this world. And a light, a candle, cannot be as a city that is set on a hilltop and it being hidden. No, you cannot be hidden. So when it's time to stand tall, you need to do what she ultimately had to do. You just have to respond to the touch of the one who called you straight, the one who's calling you okay, the one who's calling you healed, the one who's calling you restored. Jesus called her straight and she was straight. Jesus is calling you strong and you are strong. Jesus is calling you worthy and you are worthy. Jesus is calling you valuable and you are valuable. Jesus is calling you enough and you are enough. Jesus is calling you able and you are able. Jesus is calling you wise and you are wise. So she realized that her condition was never her identity, and that is the point. That is the same for you. That is the same for all of us. That is the same for the saints and children of God. That is the same for people in the world. Your mental state after a hard season of judgment can oftentimes feels like it's a permanent and a physical restriction, just as it was for the woman. But you assume your confidence is permanently ruined because of what you've been through. You assume that your worth and your value is permanently ruined because of what you've been through. You know, what once put you in a position of being called honored and favored and blessed, you think that ultimately is permanently ruined. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's all part of becoming. It's all part. Hence, you must embrace. You allow God to meet you where you are, and you allow yourself to embrace that grace, that love, that mercy, that warmth of the Father. Because you are not ruined because of what you've been through. It's just part of your journey. It's part of the story. It's part of the lessons. It's part of the outcome, the overall place that you're heading towards, you know. And this text shows us that you release. You have to release at some point what you're holding on to, because ultimately it was Jesus touched her. She was released from what she was standing in. And so it also shows us that our release is already authorized by God way before even things occur and happen in your life that you can't seem to always make sense of. And you don't have to wait for the people who even pushed you down to apologize before you can stand tall. You don't have to wait for your workplace to even promote you before you can know that you're standing tall in your wisdom and all the things you've presented that may have been overlooked. The family that, listen, the hands that held you small, the hands that used you, the hands that ridiculed you, the hands that molested you, the hands that abused you have lost their grip the moment that Jesus calls you forward and you respond. And so when we recognize this, when we recognize the matter for what it actually is, we begin to position ourselves for redefinition. This is the formation. After we recognize, we now redefine, because there has to be something to be redefined. If there's a state leading to another. So the state we're looking at is the perspective, which tends to be a false perspective based on what you've gone through, based on what you had to face. So the false perspective for you might be that because your confidence was dented, because you feel your value was taken away from you, because you feel the true essence of who you are was covered or so forth, and now you feel so guarded, you feel so defensive, and you feel so you want to question everything about yourself. It means that you're failing, or you failed, or you're losing your spiritual progress. No, we're redefining that today. There has to be another perspective, and it's a truer perspective, because we're standing and basing everything on the absolute truth of who designed you, of who called you, of who gave you purpose. So you redefine that false perspective to a true perspective. You say to yourself, where you are right now, I always say, look in the mirror. Sure, if you're outside, you've got a makeup, a mirror, some kind of vanity mirror. Say to yourself, or say it within yourself, my past condition does not have a legal right to my present frame. Who God is making me to be right now, who God is making me realize and discover who He's framing me, evolving me to be and become. My past condition, my past scenario, my past memory of how things were, should be, ought to have been, my past background, whatever, where you've come from, where you haven't, does not have a legal right to my present. So standing up straight is not a performance that I have to force on a daily basis to show up for people, to appear like I'm perfect. No, it is the authorized truth of who I am right now. So you can say to yourself, I know who I am, and I'm allowed, I am allowed to occupy this space without an apology. Jesus sacrificed himself on the cross without apology, because he understood that it is what it is, it was what it was, and it will forever be what it is. Salvation by the author of salvation and by the captain of salvation. So there's no need to apologize. Who wants to come on board? You're welcome. Who doesn't? Take your flight. So when you're able to recognize your matter and you're able to redefine your perspective, you can now be repositioned right? So we're talking about a restoration of mind, even a restoration of posture, a restoration of how you're showing up, and even your belief of yourself, or, maybe it might be about another woman that you know. True restoration does not boast in its own power. It doesn't need to, because true restoration glories the one who called you forward into light and restored you. What does this look like to you right now? That's you standing up straight after a long season of being pushed down. And even so, that may have been the case. It doesn't need to look loud. People will expect you to have your own storyline, your defensive line. People are waiting to see how you're showing up. Just do you. Stay in your lane. Doesn't need to be loud. You don't need to put up a defensive display to prove your worth to the crowd or to whatever voices were trying to outvoice you. No, it just looks like stillness. It looks like peace. It looks like quiet, humble gratitude at its best of a woman who knows it was only the hand of God that lifted her frame, that took her out of what she ought not to have been in, what she ought to not have experienced, that took her out of whatever frame she may have been in. That is what humble gratitude is. So it doesn't become about other people anymore. It becomes about you and your relationship with God. It becomes about you and your relationship with truth. It means walking into a space without feeling the need to apologize for setting aside a commitment, to protect your soundness, or offering a rehearsed explanation for your slower pace. No, you don't need it. It's not needed. That is what it looks like. You have to embrace this new image of yourself. You are being repositioned from a woman who lives with her eyes fixed on the ground of her past struggles, or what her past mistakes have said or is saying to her, to a woman who lifts her gaze to God, the Creator. So you don't have to debate with the old. You don't have to debate with heavy memories. You don't have to debate with explanations and trying to figure it out. And that interior struggle last week was about, can you trust yourself in the silence? And that interior jury, you have a jury just trying to figure out what is true and what is not. Because simply, God, the Lord, has already spoken your release. So you're moving from a state of constantly accommodating a heavy condition to a place of resting in God's authorized truth. It's simply that. That is what it is. So ultimately, you're responding to the immediate freedom of the Spirit, and that's the Spirit of God. You're no longer walking into rooms or walking into situations or conversations, lowering your shoulders, shrinking your present just out of habit. No. You're now in a place where you need to stop letting an old mindset run a trial on a version of you that is already free. So the perspective is that you are now free. So it eases it eases you to be able to occupy your peace again, not as a temporary feeling, but as a settled inheritance, and it's your inheritance. That's the core of today's conversation, and as we usually do, it's just as a form of encouragement. We come to this place where we can really just try and, embrace what we've heard and occupy in this conversation the space of our authority. And so sometimes I just love to bring voices from conversations I've had, from one-on-ones that I've had, from questions that I've given, at times to certain people, and I've based it. The questions sometimes come in that may not necessarily fit the conversation we're having in the now, but it may fit into another conversation in the remaining part of the series or in the next series to come. And so, I just want to say that if you're carrying a hidden matter or a question from your own quiet spaces, I invite you to share it with me. You can send your reflections directly to the Embrace and Become Instagram page, and that's with the handle Embrace and Become. Again, just to stay connected, and I just want to encourage you, if you are a lady, a woman, that you're having to navigate, or you've recently navigated or previously navigated, or somebody that is navigating a heavy season of intense judgment or intense isolation because of where they're at, and they or you're saying, I know I'm changing, and I can feel it, I can understand it, and that's the essence of embracing, be met where you are, but you feel like your confidence is so dented that you feel like it's easier to pull away, it's easier to hide, it's easier to, from everything and everyone. Just sometimes if you allow your state or the matter to appear again so messy in your mind, you start to lose the words to explain your state or where you're at, and you start to feel like not only you're failing yourself, but you're failing others. I don't want you to be so hard on yourself. I want you to really think of it like this. Okay, so think of a vine that has been trained to grow along like low wooden fence, low restrictive wooden fence, right? And then over the years, as you know, vines will tend to twist and turn. So it twists and it turns and it fits that completely into the narrow dimensions of that fence structure. Okay, now from a distance, it looks manageable, it looks neat, but then that root system of the vine, it runs much deeper into the soil. So the sap rises, right, right, and it does so with so much more strength, and then the branches begin to swell up. So the vine isn't failing; it's just literally or simply experiencing like a natural growth. That, of course, the one who seeded or the vine dresser intended. So how you intended it for it to grow, and that is what the vine is experiencing. So again, when the gardener will come and cut the old ties and move, parts of the vine into like a more wider or more of a higher like trellis, the vine doesn't need to force a performance. It doesn't need to. It just fills up that new space. It doesn't have to perform or act or pretend to fill that new space. It just starts to form. It doesn't need a strategy to expand, really. It just simply responds to the new room that it has, and then it moves around that. So if you feel uncomfortable and you feel tension in your life because of such circumstances or such things that you just can't seem to be letting go, and it just seems much more difficult than you thought it may have been, just stop assuming that your faith is broken or you are broken because of it, or that you stepped out of line or you're stepping out of line. No, you're allowed to receive this conversation as your anchor, as a guide to believing that in actual fact you're not failing. You're not failing. God has simply cleared away the old restrictions, whether it be people, whether it be jobs, whether it be dynamics, whether it be relationships, whether it be belief systems, whether it be environments and circles, so that you can expand into the true capacity that He designed for you. And that has to mean much more than anything else. You have to trust the hand of God. So the space that you are now in is exactly where He wants your fruit to mature. So you may not be there just yet, but that is where He wants you to mature. And so, as you know, we usually round off with an application challenge. We take up our posture, we swap it for something, we do an audit of our posture and in the reality of our circumstances, because we want to be practical about what we face in life. And when we do so, we're able to put something else in place. So I want for you, as you go away from this conversation, and sooner than later, I want you to really take in the moments when the old mindsets try to tell you that you're still trapped by what broke you, what abused you, what molested you, what hurt you, what condemned you, what accused you, what silenced you, what manipulated you, what deceived you, what played you. And then I want you to say out loud, the courtroom is closed. The courtroom is closed, and I'm resting in the truth of my release. God has released me from that season, that version, that event, that pain, that hurt. that lie, whatever it is, and I'm now resting in the truth of my release. When you found your posture to audit, you can then exchange it and swap it for something. So when you're in that moment, swap it for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Just try to figure out how best can I explain, how best can you explain your choices to others. So when you're saying that now, that should be your stop point. That moment that you feel you need to figure out how to explain that, instead swap it for another 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. Again, deep stillness. The world is just too fast paced. It's just rush. Everything's just rushed. This conversation, this podcast is here for you to be able to come into that reflective space of stillness. So swap it with a deep intentional moment of stillness, of silence, and then you tell your spirit from that place of calm, unhurried, I am allowed to stand straight, and I am allowed to stand straight right here. When you can feel the peace in saying that, just identify, say something, just name one area where you've been making yourself small to avoid being misjudged or being misunderstood. Because those are some of the things that really drive human beings in general. But yes, us ladies, to the place back of defensiveness or wanting to shut yourselves in and so forth. So name something that you've been using or saying to yourself that's been making yourself feel small, just so that you can avoid being misjudged, right? And then tell God, say to God, you are the one that looses me, just as the woman with the infirmity. When you said to her, you are loosed, I'm acknowledging that you are the one that looses me. I am occupying this space today. I'm occupying this space today. So I just want to encourage you as we've come to the rounding off of this episode, which I really hope has touched you in ways that you may not have even expected. And I just want to say, you're beautiful, you're worthy, you're loved. And ladies, you have spent far too long trying to fit into spaces that your soul has just completely outgrown. And the seasons that bent you over have no right to dictate your future frame. So put down the heavy expectations and open your hands. Open up your hands. Tell somebody about the formation arc, because it's not just you that needs to hear this conversation. If you do know a woman who's currently in this season of her life once again, or you just know that someone's gone through something, pour out what you've received today and reach out to her. As always, you can go ahead, leave a review or a comment. It does help other women find this space, find these conversations. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to get notified of upcoming and new episodes also. And don't forget to stay connected also via our Instagram page, Embrace and Become. So ladies, here's where we're parking, and I really want you to take this with you today. Remember, you are not trapped in your past condition. You are becoming. Until next time, embrace and become.